Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on another episode of Ask Sharifah Videocast. If you are sitting down, you might want to call a friend, text a friend, whatever you're doing, stop what you're doing, because today's show is going to be incredible. And I know I say every show is going to be incredible, but I'm telling you, this show is incredible. So go ahead and share it, because as always, friends don't let friends miss out on Ask Sharifah. And you don't want to miss the lady I am bringing to you today. When you meet her, you're going to be blown away. And if you have questions, if you have comments, please feel free to ask your questions or comments in the comment section. And our guest today, she has an incredible story, starting from a child on healing, and now she uses Theta, but she's also going to talk for one of the first times about her story and what happened to her in Las Vegas. Good afternoon, Shannon Leischner. How are you?
I'm very well, Sharifah. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for joining us. I'm excited to have you here because when I see you, you're full of life. That's all I can say. Your smile is glowing, you're bubbly, you're always upbeat. And wow, you have an amazing story. Let's talk a little bit about your history and how you got started in healing.
You know, it's so funny because I've been able to see spirits and interact with the spirit world since I was a child. I mean, for as far as my memories can go, I was able to interact and see spirits. And I literally, and I know this is a long story, but I literally grew up in a house that was just like Amityville Horror. So we had the bad spirits and the good spirits. And, you know, some people say they survived their childhood, and I literally survived my childhood. Just about everything that happened in the Amityville was pretty close to what happened in our house as well. And I was well protected by angels. And I know that now they even say that they have their work cut out with me. But you know, as I was growing, because of the experience with Amityville, the Amityville house, which really wasn't Amityville, but it was just like it. I actually kind of walked away from my gifts and my abilities, or I wanted to at least, or I wanted to try, because of the fear that I had for it. And it's funny, a medium who's scared of spirits is not a very good medium. And so I grew up almost my entire life kind of hiding my gifts, because my family members, you know, really didn't want to deal with it after what happened in my childhood. And so I was really miserable because I was always drawn towards trying to learn more of my gifts and learn what I could do. But I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to be a professional, or want to call it a professional. And I got a master's degree in public administration. I started my own nonprofit. And, you know, within my own right, I was pretty successful, but I was the most miserable person ever. I wasn't happy. I wasn't the smiling person you see today. All I wanted to do essentially was die. I just was extremely unhappy. And when I turned 33, I was diagnosed with a serious heart condition, and I was given a year to live. And in that moment, I decided I'm going to follow my dreams. If I only have a year, I'm going to do what I want to do. So then I came into this realm with the help of an amazing woman who was also a celebrity psychic. And she decided she was going to help me get into this world, because I definitely, I don't have anything against anybody who does the flashing light psychic, but I wanted to be more of a professional psychic. And I wanted to be taken seriously. And so within 8 months, I had been on TV, on radio. I had celebrity clients. I was doing lots of celebrity events, and it was amazing. And then 8 months after that, my heart condition was completely gone. And so I had been completely cured of that. And so I actually kind of advertised myself as a psychic medium. And we're going along, I'm a psychic medium, until Archangel Michael reminded me that I heal. And it was like all of these memories and all of this abilities just started coming. And the funny thing is that it seems like every couple months now I get a new ability, or I remember something new. And so it's been a big journey, but an amazing journey.
Wow, Shannon, you gave us a lot in a small amount of time. We went from childhood to Amityville Horrors to celebrity to hearts to 1 year to live. Wow, like I'm blown away. But I want to go back to your childhood. You said that initially you started hearing spirit, and then because of your fears, you kind of closed down. When you were a child, how did you know you were speaking with spirit?
I actually could see them.
Okay.
And so it was almost like people, but not quite, you know, in the solidarity that we have. You know, we're solid, and they weren't quite as solid. But at that time, I wasn't really sure if they were people that I was seeing or spirits until, you know, like, I have to back up a little bit. My family is, they're all some sort of psychic. They all have some sort of abilities. And as I was growing up, my mom would have seances and table risings and Ouija boards and all these activities in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of learned from them that what I was seeing was more spiritual than it was real or 3D people.
Mm-hmm. So did you feel, because of all the activity in the house, that it was the people in the house causing the Amityville horrors, or was it the house itself that was causing the Amityville type horrors?
Well, I truly believe that it was a little bit of mixture of both. There were several people that had died in that house. There was definitely a portal and some energy there, but I do also attribute it to the Ouija board.
Mm-hmm.
And because I remember sitting and watching things come out of this board, and I could see the dark energy just moving along, and the dark energy started to come after my stepfather and really begin to influence him to do some crazy things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how the Amityville energy started.
Wow. And so you just shut it all down, and you said, I don't want to see anything else. I don't want to hear anything else. And you just wanted to go into being quote unquote normal.
I wanted to, and my family wanted to, but they had a different idea. And so what happened was I shut down being able to hear them,
Mm-hmm.
but they still popped up in front of my face. I'd be sleeping, open my eyes, and there they are in my face. I'd walk to the bathroom, and there they were in my face. They were constantly popping up. It didn't stop me from seeing. It just stopped me from hearing, even though I tried to run as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm. So did it stop after you moved out of the house, or did it continue?
Oh, it continued. Because, you know, even though there were spirits in the house, I still had abilities.
Mm-hmm.
And those abilities were what continued. And so I would see my uncle who passed, or I would see another person who had passed. And so I constantly saw people, and I used to call my grandmother to share it with her, because she would listen and allow for me to tell her the crazy stories that I just experienced.
Mm-hmm. So your grandmother was psychic as well?
Yes, all of my family members have some sort of ability.
Oh, interesting. I know I was able to meet your cousin as well as your aunt. Very interesting family, like this whole just psychic family. It was very interesting.
Oh yes, you know, you should see us sometimes when we all get together and we start talking about this stuff. You know, it's always, oh well, you know, Michael told me this, and well, I
Yeah.
have feelings about this, and so we just start having these huge spiritual conversations.
Mm-hmm. So we're gonna move forward a little bit. But so you said then you were diagnosed and you had 1 year to live, but you
Yes.
wanted to live your life and you wanted to live it your terms, however you wanted to, before you actually healed. So 8 months later, where did the healing come from?
I truly believe it came from me choosing my path, because I was
Okay.
denying my path my entire life out
Mm-hmm.
of fear. And when I chose my path, it was almost like my spirit said, okay, I just had to give you a wake up call. Now we can begin. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how it worked for me.
Once that you got the wake up call, did you then commit to it 100%? Because before you were reluctant, running from it, afraid of it. Now, were you a believer and said, yes, this is my life. This is what I want to focus on?
100%. Yes, I actually jumped into it. And we all know that in the psychic realm, when you're working as a professional psychic, it takes a little while, to build up funds.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did have to have some part-time jobs to support me, but my entire life, my entire existence, what I ate, slept, and drank this spiritual energy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a phenomenal shift for me, and my life completely changed.
Yeah. So you mentioned these natural psychic abilities, but also you work with Theta. Can you give us a little information about your Theta and your Theta certification?
Yes. So this was probably 8 years into my professional career.
Mhm.
I had to learn some healing because Michael had reminded me that I was able to heal, but I needed to learn the ins and outs because what I was doing was absorbing energy, and that was not a good thing. So I learned from Vianna Stibal, who is the creator of Theta Healing. She certified me in, I'm in 6 different courses, so the beginning and advanced and all the way down to several other courses, but all of them I'm certified to teach.
Mhm.
And what Theta Healing essentially is moving the brain into a theta state, which is a slower rate state where that you can be more creative, where you can actually heal the brain or connect psychically to or energetically to other beings. Essentially, it's connecting to Creator and allowing for Creator to heal the body.
And you teach people how to do this.
I do teach people how to do this, and it's one of my tools in my toolbox.
Yes, it sounds interesting. So do you have to be naturally psychic in order to do theta?
Actually, no, and that's the great thing about it. I have so many of I created a team. So everyone who certifies with me, I created a team called Angelic Awakenings.
Hmm.
And everyone who's been in my team, probably half of them come to me in the first day of class and say, I have no abilities, but I want to know what this thing is.
Hmm.
And once we're done, they're giving people readings and healing them. And it's just such an eye-opening experience.
So how long is this training?
It's 3 days
Okay.
for the beginning, and then another 3 days for advanced. But you can choose to just stay in the beginning if you like.
Mhm.
3 intense days, but fantastic.
Wow. And then you can walk away, be able to do readings, be able to do healings. So this was a way for you to be able to open up other people's abilities.
Yes, it actually was kind of like the step-by-step process because I just knew how to do it, but I needed the steps, and I needed to be able to share the steps with other people. One
Hmm.
of my titles, or actually my main title, is spiritual catalyst. So
Hmm.
I'm the catalyst to help other people grow and awaken their abilities as well.
So are there any requirements before taking the class or taking the course, or do you have to be a certain age, a certain size? What are the requirements?
Well, my youngest certified theta healer is 12 years old.
Oh,
And
wow.
so, yeah, we don't, there's no age limit. You can be 1,000 years old and you can be 10 years old, just as long as you have the desire to
Hmm.
want to learn to heal. That's
Hmm.
the only requirement.
Yes. And you have the desire to want to heal for, I believe, the right reasons, to be able to be of service to mankind and to humans. I think that is wonderful. I think it's truly amazing.
Yes. And the another thing is that I really believe that I can only draw people with the highest of integrity.
Hmm.
There's a lot of things that I teach besides theta healing that involves moving energy in the brain and moving energy in the body. And it really does require a high level of integrity. You don't want to teach somebody how to heal somebody or help somebody because, or if they don't have a high level of integrity, because you don't really know what they're going to do with it. Now,
Hmm.
it's not me to judge that. The Creator judges that. And I feel that those who come to me are of the highest of integrity.
Hmm. Wow. So again, if you are just now tuning in, we're having a very interesting conversation with one of my very favorite people, Shannon Leischner, and she's taken us all the way back to her childhood where she grew up in what was like the Amityville Horrors, the House of Horrors, and everything she learned there, as well as her training now with Theta. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about her. Again, if you have questions, if you have comments, please feel free to ask them in the comment section. Shannon, you are amazing.
Thank
So you teach people, you help people, but you were given 1 year to live.
you. Yes.
You healed yourself 8 months later, and
Yes.
yet wait, there's more. I mean, there's
Yes.
there's so much more. You were in Las Vegas during one of the largest mass shootings in American history, and you were actually shot, and look at you now. Tell us about that. Tell us what happened, and that experience for you.
Well, I have to back up before it actually happened, because 2 months before it happened, I
Mm-hmm.
was laying in bed, and I felt this anxiety hit me, and then I felt the physical pain of something hitting my stomach near my belly button. And all of a sudden, I came into the awareness that I had just been shot, and
Mm-hmm.
I could feel the warmth of the blood going down my body, and I could feel my organs being destroyed. And I
Mm-hmm.
started to panic because this was a vision. I wasn't asleep, I was completely awake. And all of a sudden, in my vision, I'm being transported to a parking lot at night, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm leaning up against a metal cooler.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this woman who has dark hair who is actually holding the wound and telling me to stay with her. And this is all in my vision. And I'm panicking as the person who was laying in bed. And I was with my husband at the time, and I kept telling him I've been shot and I've been shot. And he said, "No, you haven't. You're here in bed with me." And I said, "No, I've been shot." And so he said, "Well, you're a healer, heal yourself." And I
Mm-hmm.
went, "Oh my goodness, you're right." So I
Mm-hmm.
separated myself from the panic and the pain. And I actually imagined and watched the bullet being pulled out of my stomach and all of my organs being healed as the bullet was coming out. And
Mm-hmm.
as the bullet exited my body, there was a hole in my stomach and a burn mark that I couldn't quite close up all the way.
Mm-hmm.
And for the next 2 weeks after that incident, I was in so much pain. I felt like I had been shot, like
Mm-hmm.
really sore. And so I was on my way to Vegas. And I actually, the funny thing is I did not buy a ticket to the Route 91 concert. A friend of mine got sick and offered me her ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I went to the concert, with
Well, let me just talk
20,000.
about that a little bit. I didn't
Yes.
mean to cut you off, but when we talk about synchronicities or happenstance or coincidences, when she offered you the ticket, because sometimes we get a little knowing, we don't know why, but we get this little feeling that says, you might not go. Did you feel anything? Did you see anything? Did you hear any voices? Or you just took the ticket and went?
Well, on my drive to Vegas, I got halfway and I said, "You know what? I need to go home. I don't think I want
Mhm.
to go to this."
Yes.
And I had people with me, and they said, "You know what? No, you need to go. You're just being silly." And I was like, "Okay, well, I guess I'm just being silly. I'll go ahead and go."
Mm-hmm.
Not projecting that, there was going to be a mass shooting at 20,000 people in
Mm-hmm.
a concert. So,
Right.
yeah, so I just went ahead and went anyway.
Right, but those are examples. There's usually some knowingness inside of us, or something somewhere in us says, "Oh, you might want to go home." So that's why I wanted to ask that question, but I didn't again mean to cut you off. So continue. You were telling us your friend gave you the ticket, and then you were on your way to Vegas.
Yes, I knew about 40 people that were going to be there. And so
Mhm.
when I arrived, I was trying to text them and get a hold of them so I could find them. But cell phones weren't working very well. When you have 20,000 people on one server, it just doesn't quite work as well as you want it to. So
Right.
I'm a dancer. I love to dance. And
Yes.
and so I wanted to go to something called silent line dancing, which is where you put your headphones on and you're dancing. And then all of a sudden, Jason Aldean is getting ready to come up. And I said, "You know what? Maybe my friends will be towards the front, because they love to be towards the front of things." And so I made my way to the front of the stage. I was front center.
Mhm.
And I was noticing that Jason Aldean was flinching, and I'm not sure why. Maybe he wasn't feeling well. Maybe, I have no idea what was going on there.
Mhm.
But about 5 minutes before the shooting started, I heard, "Get out now."
Mhm.
And I'm looking around and I'm surrounded by people. If anyone knows what it's like to be in the front center of a stage with a guy who's a headliner, you're not going anywhere.
Right.
But I decided I was going to start pushing my way out. And I started making my way out of the crowd towards the Mandalay Bay, which is
Mhm.
where the shooting happened. And then as soon as I got to the last person, that's when the first round of bullets started. And we thought it was fireworks because it kind of sounded like fireworks. But
Mhm.
then as the second round started, people started dropping.
Mhm.
And so we all knew that this was real, and people started running. It reminded me almost like fish in a fishbowl, which is really a sad analogy, but that's what I was thinking of at that moment. And so I decided I was going to actually not run. I was going to go towards the Mandalay Bay, still inside the venue. And as I was walking on the third round of bullets, I noticed the overturned cooler that I had seen in my vision.
Oh, wow.
And at that moment, I went, oh, this is
Here it
not going to be
comes.
a good thing. And I heard a very high-pitched noise heading right towards me. And Gabriel, the Archangel Gabriel, said to me, "You're going to be hit, and it's going to be okay." And I don't know if anybody knows about brain waves, but I'm pretty sure my brain went into gamma, which is it makes your body and your mind go into extreme slow motion. So everything went in super slow motion. The bullet hits me in the stomach in the exact same spot that I had experienced 2 months prior. And I feel it going in, I feel it burning. And then all of a sudden, this bright light appears and the bullet flew out in the same hole that it actually entered.
Oh, wow.
And with the heat and everything, the wound cauterized and it actually closed up, which was a pure miracle. And then the bullet dropped to the ground. In that very moment, the dark-haired woman that I had seen 2 months prior begins to rip off my clothes, saying, "You've been shot, you've been shot." And she's looking for the bullet wound. And she says, "I see the wound, but I don't see an exit wound." And so she's trying to help me. And I told her, "I think I'm okay." And she wasn't believing it at that moment, but I'm in this complete shock. And I went to pick up the bullet and it was extremely hot. I wish I was able to hold on to it so that I could have kept it as a souvenir. But then more bullets started to ring out and then they pulled us under the bleachers, which was the worst place to be. But in that space, every space was the worst place to be. So I actually wound up staying. So even after being hit, I was okay. And I wound up staying. I was helping triage people and find help and carry bodies, unfortunately, to truck. So I was one of the last people out of the venue. And if I had it to do it all over again, I still would do the same thing.
Wow, I'm sorry to hear that you went through that experience. I want to talk about that, but I also want to go back to 2 months prior. One of the things that people often tend to ask is what is and what is not avoidable. So do you believe that you were shown the vision 2 months ago in order to let you know what would happen? Or do you feel that one way or another, it was just simply inevitable?
Well, I'm a true believer that past, present, and future exist at the same time. What happened, it was a friend have gone to the event, knows had gone, who knows what we're. So I'm a believer that and so I would not have changed that.
So you believe that the most important thing, if I'm hearing you correctly, is that you were there for the other people.
Yeah, I was there instead of my friend who may have not been as lucky.
Oh, I mean, that just shows such a giving spirit, a wonderful spirit. Again, if you are just now tuning in, we are speaking with Shannon Leischner. She's sharing her incredible true life story, and we have the opportunity to ask questions about what happened. We do appear that we're having some brief technical difficulties, but we definitely are going to stay tuned with Shannon. And yes, we're going to discuss, but again, if you're just now tuning in, we're speaking with Shannon Leischner. Shannon, okay, so you said that you were there in front instead of your friends, which to me is very noble. So that means to say that it was, to a certain extent, it was it was meant to be.
Yes.
But you also helped people, like you said, when you were there. You helped people. But weren't you in pain? Because I know you talked about in the vision you were in pain for 2 weeks. What were you going through when you're focused and thinking maybe the adrenaline is running, but you're helping other people?
At that moment, I felt nothing. I mean, I feel the burning in my stomach, but I felt it was the pure adrenaline. At that moment, it was kind of weird because I no longer cared if I didn't make it out. It was in that moment, I just said, you know what, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die helping as many people as can. And that's kind of been my theme. And I'm going to cancel, clear, delete this as I say it. It's been my theme before. I'm over that theme now, and we're going to move on to more peaceful, loving, supportive experiences. But at that time, it was I really did not care. I mean, I cared, but it was more important for me to help more people than it was for me to make it out.
I mean, that's a giving spirit. Not many people would be not only willing to say that, but willing to actually do that, to stay and help other people. Because these questions are just coming to mind. So forgive me if it's a sensitive subject, but I just want to share your experience, especially for people who are ready to give up or quit and say, you know, I can't do it because of this, or I can't do it because of that. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Let you talk to Shannon, because she's done it. But you heard, I remember you saying Archangel Gabriel was the one who said, get out now.
He was the one that said I was going to be hit and
Okay.
that was going to be okay. But there was I truly feel that if I would have stayed front center of the stage, I would have had a worse injury. I probably would have been hit multiple times. And so where I was at was a lot easier on my body than if I would have stayed front center.
Wow. Yes. Go ahead.
I was going to say there's another part to this that I hadn't mentioned. There was, as I was walking around after going under the bleachers, I decided then I was going to start looking for bodies. I wanted to find my cousin because my cousin was there. And so I wanted to make sure he was okay. So I started going to the different bodies and the different people to see what I could do to help as well. And I saw a friend of mine from the club that I go to, and he was sitting on the grass. Now, mind you, there are bullets flying everywhere. I mean, it is just a mess. And I asked him, I recognized him, and I said his name, and I said, you need to get up right now. And he said, no, I'm not going anywhere. And I kept telling him, you need to get up right now. And he just kept refusing, almost like he was in complete shock. And so I sat next to him and I looked at him and I said, I guess we're both going to die today. And in that moment, he looked at me and he recognized me, and his eyes got truly big. And he said, I need to save you. And this is kind of the funny story in all of it, but he grabs my hand and began to drag me across the grass. That was a funny time. I can laugh at it now, because imagine this guy dragging me across the grass, and I'm thinking I'm going to get grass stains. Not only that, but there's everything else there. But that's the funny part. I can actually smile about that a little bit, because it was like all of a sudden he went into hero mode, and he woke up out of his whatever was going on and decided he was going to save me. Unfortunately, we ran into a girl who had been hit in the head, and he had to let me go. And when he let me go, he kept going, and I stayed with the girl who got hit in the head.
But did you make it out okay? Did you find out?
Oh yeah, he made it out okay, and we actually shared a very nice moment at the club. And every time we see each other, we give each other a big hug. And our thing for Route 91 survivors is, we're glad you made it out. So every time we see a survivor, they are our family, and we say we're glad you made it out.
Oh, wow. Wow, such a beautiful spirit. If you are just now tuning in, we're speaking with Shannon Leischner about her life as a medium, as a healer, as a psychic, as well as her experience in the Las Vegas mass shooting. So again, if you have questions or comments, please place them in the comment section. But I have a lot of questions. Shannon, you didn't just stop with helping and saving people that night. You went from there. Okay, we're not going to talk about the other people yet. You were able to heal yourself. When you finally finished helping and saving, did you literally just pass out? Did somebody finally just say, lady, you have to go to the hospital, and drag you into the EMT? What happened at that point?
Well, this is the crazy part.
Mhm.
So
This is
when
the
everything
crazy
was done,
part.
I know there's so many crazy parts, right?
We haven't
Um,
gotten to the crazy part yet.
well, the wound completely closed. It
Okay.
completely it healed. But what happened was, as soon as I got out of the venue, my legs didn't want to walk anymore, and I collapsed in the middle of the street. And a Marine came and picked me up, and he put me up against the car, and he sat there, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I kept going, "I think I'm okay." And I started to check myself. Now I'm checking the wound. I'm checking my back. I said, "Can you look to see if I have any exit wound or what's going on?" And he says, "No, I think you're okay." He goes, "I
Hmm.
do see the thing on your stomach." He goes, "But you're not even bleeding."
Hmm.
He goes, "I don't understand what's going on." He goes, "You can very much tell that you've been hit, but you don't even have any blood."
Hmm.
And so many people have tried to explain that away, oh, it was a ricochet, and oh, it was slowed down by something, but then that would have made it jagged, and it would have ripped my skin.
Hmm.
And so, but anyway, neither here nor there. But it was the crazy part, because it was like, as soon as I got out of the venue, that's when I collapsed. And
Hmm.
I didn't go to the hospital until I got home. So I drove home. Drove to my mom's house, then I drove home, then
Hmm.
went to the hospital, had an MRI, and they said that I had bruised intestines and little bits here and there, but nothing serious.
Does your mom live in Vegas?
My mom lives a couple hours from Vegas.
Okay, so okay, I'm gonna recap this right. So you were in Vegas, you were in a concert with 20,000 people, you were shot, then you helped other people get out, then you drove 2 hours to your mom's house.
Yes, yes,
Wow. I'm
yes. A little bit in between there, I actually tried to get some sleep. I couldn't.
Mhm.
It was just, there was nothing going to happen there. I had some breakfast with some friends, and then I went. I was in complete shock. Even it was the hardest drive for 2 hours to be in that state, because I was pretty messed up.
Mhm.
So I called my kid's dad, and I said, "I don't care what you have to do, just talk for 2 hours." And
Oh
he
wow.
is such a quiet person, but
Mhm.
he actually talked for 2 hours while I got to my mom's house.
Oh wow. And you got to your mom's house. Your mom probably was like, "Oh my God, what is going on?"
Yes.
And then you finally went to the hospital.
Yeah, when I got home, yes, I did.
Your mother didn't like advise you, like, go to the hospital. You have to go. No, she saw
I
you.
didn't have any blood. I didn't have any. I mean, I had a little bit of a hole and a burn mark, but there
Mhm.
was nothing indicating that something went in, except for the hole in the burn mark, which was really crazy.
Mhm. So you went to the hospital, and your organs. Tell us about your organs.
I had bruised organs.
Mhm.
Um, and that was pretty much, I mean, with some minor contusions and that kind, like, which is deeper bruising. Other than that, I had nothing. There was nothing to indicate that anything went in, which was really crazy.
Now, to a certain extent, I'm going to ask this question. It may or it may not be stating the obvious, which I am known for. But what do you attribute to that healing?
Well, I attribute it, one, to the past, present, and future existing all at the same time, that I was able to pull it out, to heal, to do all of that work. But the biggest part is I attribute it to the creator, and I attribute it to the angels. Because if it weren't for the angels and it weren't for the creator, I would not be here today.
Yes.
Because had that bullet have stayed in there, I would have bled out before the cops got me.
Yes, it's such a blessing that you are here now. So tell us what you're doing now. Tell us how you're using your gifts and your abilities and your everything you've been through to help other people.
Well, I kept asking the angels, and I kept asking, why was I put in that situation? Because I will tell you that it was a horrible, horrible, horrific thing. And to actually have to survive after that is
Mhm.
the worst part. I mean, having to go through that is really, really hard. But to survive the PTSD and the survivor's remorse is
Mhm.
the worst thing in the world.
Mhm.
And I kept asking why. And it wasn't me being the victim. It was like, why did I have to go through this? Why would I even go there? And I kept hearing, the answer will come and the answer will come. Well,
Mhm.
actually, a couple months after that, I started realizing that I could, like, it was almost like another ability had come, but I
Mhm.
could pull out trauma out of the brain.
Mhm.
And so I offered all of my services and the services of angelic awakenings to all of the and so essentially I energetically go into the brain and I start relieving the trauma from that. And I did it to myself actually, and that's why I am where I am today.
So what made you, how did you know you had that ability?
All of a sudden I felt this need to want to go into the body, like energetically extending from your hand to go into the body and kind of experience what energy is. Because we're so much in our body suits, and we have this energy that extends even past hands, our arms, past everything, and that other people's energy as well. When I realized that I could actually go into the body and start envisioning what the brain looked like, I was so excited because I thought, here's my chance to help people with PTSD. Of course, I tried it on myself first. And then I have a friend, Jerry, who I tried some energy work on as well before I tried it on anybody else. But when I realized that people actually felt better, I could calm the brain within seconds. I could help them with their anxiety and their depression and all of their PTSD. It was so amazing to me, and I realized why I was where I was at.
It is so beautiful. Now, Shannon, it has been a pleasure speaking with you, and we are coming down to the last few minutes of the show. And what I like to do at the end of every show is just allow my guests the opportunity to speak directly to the people who are watching, as well as the people who are watching in the archives, and let them know what you want for them to take away from your interview.
Well, I think first and foremost is that you can do anything. You can overcome anything, and you can be anything that you want to be. I believe that we are limitless beings, and when we can move past our limitations, we can really create change. And so this story is a story about poor me, because it isn't. It is about me helping people to move towards less depression, less anxiety, and even getting past their PTSD. So I want people to know I'm able to help, but also you can help yourselves. And it's never too late, and you're never stuck. So just keep moving forward, regardless of what your obstacles are. I always say, whatever the speed bumps are, keep moving forward, and you will actually find change in your life.
I think that's wonderful. And where can people find you? Where can they contact you?
Well, I actually have a Facebook, Shannon Leischner, and then I also have an Instagram. It's an Angelic Guide. And then you can find me at shannonleischner@yahoo.com. You can email me, or even I'll give out my number, 310-503-9380. You can text me and make an appointment as well.
Okay. Do you have a website?
I do. shannonleischner.com. ShannonLeischner.com.
That's wonderful. Now, Shannon, I want to thank you for being today's guest on Ask Sharifah Videocast.
Thank you.
And I want to thank everyone who tuned in, everyone who shared, everyone who showed their support, everyone who's watching this in the archives. Thank you. If you're interested in watching more of my interviews and being a guest, or for sponsorship opportunities, please visit the website at AskSharifah.com. Until then, everyone have a blessed day. Bye now.
Bye.